Hello. So for question 7, what have I learnt? Um, well, I've learnt more about the 180 rule from our prelim task. We were trying to use the 180 rule and match on action, and it went wrong because we kept on stopping and starting, so you knew that we had taken a cut and then recorded again, which caused it to have a kind of a jumpy effect, or it just didn't look right. It was not kind of a continuity error. So I learnt that when you're using the 180 rule or to do match on action, you have to make sure that there's continuity, that you're doing it correctly, and that you're thinking about everything, really. I learnt how to use tracking, or got better at using tracking, because it's quite hard to set up when you don't know how to do it. So I learnt it, and then we actually used it on set, and it's in our film opening, and it's really effective. And I learnt how tracking really creates a sense of closing, creating more of an isolated or claustrophobic feeling to the image. I had to learn how to use After Effects because we had a massive issue with our contact lenses that we bought. And because the actor couldn't put it in his eye, we had to come and find another way around it. So using tutorials, and after several attempts, I was able to make the eye completely black and give it the demon effect that we wanted. I had to use After Effects. I became better at Final Cut. I mean, I've used it before, but I became much more better at it in terms of putting shots together and just having everything fit, and using sound on there correctly and so on. Things that I should have kind of beared in mind, or now that I have learned, is that light is very important in film, especially when you're making a black and white film, because if you don't have lots of light, then your image is very grainy and it just doesn't look right. So that's another thing that I've learnt, to kind of either get the exposure on the camera quite open so it lets in more light, or just to have more floodlights everywhere, or lights set up just so you don't have that grainy effect on your film. I learnt how to manipulate the colour, the saturation, the exposure, the colour on the actual film. So it doesn't matter if it looks quite dull, you can make it look more vibrant or darker or lighter if you want. So that was quite cool. I learnt how sound is very important in film, both to intrigue your audience, but also to give them like a little scare. Like at the end of our opening sequence, the fangs are shown, and originally it was just going to be the fangs being shown in slow motion, but then because we said that we wanted a journey in our film, we thought that maybe the ending should leave a bit of a jump so it scares you. So we had the sound of this massive I can't reenact the sound, but it's quite a shocking sound to hear after kind of a classical, nice, peaceful music going along with everything that you've seen. So that's one of the things. Also to create the sense of where we are, because we filmed the kind of the hostel or the place that she lives. We created that scene in the school theatre, and due to the massive issues with being able to film in a hotel, to create the sense of that she's living in this very bad, like kind of in a really poverty kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but in a very bad area, an industrial site is the best way to describe it, that there's the sound of cars and trains, and just building the idea of where we are and how everything is like. So I added the sound of cars, trains, buses passing by, so it just made it feel like it wasn't like a stereotypical I live in a hotel that's really fancy, or just giving it a bit more of a sense of where we are. And choosing the piece of music. Now originally I wanted to compose it, but massive issues came with time and the organisation and being able to do it does take a lot of time to even record it and write it, so it just took too much time up. So instead, we used Chopin's piece, and I think it works better than what I originally thought it was going to be like, because it creates a sense of a journey, and it's just much more, it just fits it much more, because it kind of goes with the kind of, it's both contradicting and similar to what we're seeing, because it's both contrasting with what we see, which is that she's living a really hard life and the song's quite peaceful, but at the same time it's creating a sense of a journey.